Hey there, I'm Adrienne, and we're just going for a little walk tonight. I was going to start this little series, kind of a walk and talk, just an opportunity to throw on the shoes at the end of the day, get a few extra steps in together, and just kind of have a chat. I think sometimes when we're going through difficult things, it can be easy to not prioritize ourselves, right? We're taking care of everybody else. So sometimes the things that we're going to do for ourselves, the things that feel good for us, other things that tend to go first. So I thought this would be a really great way for us to connect and just get out, like I said, at the end of the day, get a few extra steps in, kind of be accountability buddies, if you will, and just see how it goes. So for those of you that don't know me, I am a transformation coach, and I work typically with people going through changes, loss, and they're in grief. So since most of the people I work with are going through difficult times, this is kind of an experience that we talk about a lot, is how can I take care of myself? How can I prioritize myself? Because again, especially women, when things start to get really challenging, the thing we end up doing is taking care of everybody around us. And in that process, we're not always taking care of ourselves. So I figured, again, this would just kind of be a great way for us to make sure we're prioritizing ourselves through challenging times and keeping the promises that we make to ourselves too, right? I know a lot of people are into getting their steps, right? Get your 10,000 steps in. But again, when the day gets away from you, when hard things are happening, sometimes it could take every bit of your energy to get up and just get the mandatory life things done. And by the time you're home from work or you take care of the kids or whatever else, there's not a lot of time or energy left to do the things that you wanted to do for yourself. So I think when we have somebody to do these things with, it can make it a little bit easier. But then there's also the issue of, say if you and Michelle, you're going for a walk. You planned it after dinner, say 7 p.m., and you're going to go out and, get some extra steps in, have a little chat. And then the person that you're supposed to go with doesn't feel like doing it anymore. And rather than putting on the shoes and going yourself, you're like, actually, I don't really feel like it either. So then you don't. And I think that we've all been there. And it's tough. It's really tough. So I think that, first of all, if you are seeing this and you hopped into this and you decided to throw on your shoes and go for the walk, that is absolutely fantastic. And I'm super excited that you're here and you're doing this. And if you're going out, especially if you're hitting the streets, just kind of make sure you're staying aware of what's around you, stay safe. I'm kind of in a rural area right now, so walking on the shoulder of a road. So I just gotta, move around as needed. But yeah, but I'm super happy, like I said, if you found this, you're tuning in and you're giving yourself this time to go for the walk. That is fantastic. And I'm going to share a quick story because I've just kind of been laughing to myself about this. So the other night, Monday night, I decided, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this, see how it goes. And I was excited, I'm like, this is going to be cool. It's going to be a cool way to connect with people in like a less formal way. And also, just kind of like push myself out of my comfort zone a little bit by going live and, just having to talk when there may or may not be somebody on the other side of this. So anyways, I make the plan. I'm like 7 p.m. my time. I'm in Arizona, so it's like 100 degrees still, but I was like 7 p.m. feels like a good time, at least where I'm at. The day's wound down. Most people are probably like gotten home already, had their dinner. It's a good time to get out, like say, get those extra steps in. feels like a good idea. So I'm jazzed, right? Like I get ready and I decide, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go with the selfie stick. I don't know if anybody still uses them, but I'm like, I need a little extra like leverage to not be waving the camera around like a crazy person. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna go with a selfie stick. Who cares? And I get dressed, get all my stuff, set up the live stream. And I mean, it was still like, it was even hotter than it is right now on Monday at this time. And for some reason, it felt like a really good idea to climb the biggest hill where I am. It was just kind of like, it's a hill that I do hike up a lot. So it was almost just like this natural thing to go to it and start climbing up it, which I'm actually walking up the base of it right now. Did not go up it today. And let me tell you, I was like beet red, sweating buckets, like I'm breathing heavy. But the thing was, I was like so in the moment of hiking, kind of on track with what I'm talking about. I didn't even care. I didn't feel self-conscious about it. I didn't feel weird about it. I'm just like, whatever. We're out here getting some steps. The hill called. Up the hill I go. But I mean, it was not cute. Like, really, it was not. It was like I said, sweat buckets, beet red, breathing heavy, trying to make a point. And at that point, like, I'm just laughing at myself. I'm like, of all the routes I could have taken, I go up the biggest hill to the point where I can barely breathe. And that felt like a good idea to stream it to the internet. I'm like, why not? You know, let's do that. But I was using like this third-party platform that allows you to stream to more than one platform at a time for social media. And it was the first time that I had used it. So I was like, you know what? We're rocking, we're rolling. I set it up. There's like, go into the studio, go live. There's multiple buttons, right? So I press the buttons. I do this walk, 35 minutes. I feel like I'm on fire, right? Like I'm killing it. It is like joke. Like, I don't know if you ever saw that episode of Friends where Monica's talking about Chandler and his jokes, but I felt like that was me. Like I was on. And I was making some really great points for like self-coaching and things that could help. So all this to say, I go to stop the video after 35 minutes and I can't see a button to stop it, to hit end. So I scroll up a little bit, like just out of sight of the bottom of my screen. And there is, I kid you not, another button that says go live. So I hiked up this hill with my selfie stick, talking to myself while sweating absolute buckets. Just a complete disaster. And it was actually never live. Which, whatever, right? Like stuff happens. I'm just like hysterically laughing at this point. I'm like at the bottom of the hill, ready to head home. Like 35 minutes, I made all my points. Got about 5,000 steps in. We're good. Mission accomplished. And I realized, yeah, that did not go live. So I'm, like just laughing. What can you do, right? So I've been telling the story the last 2 days just because it really is comical that I had no idea I wasn't live. And so then I was kind of hoping, I'm like, well, I went into the studio, I hit go live, so 2 buttons. Maybe at least this third-party thing like recorded it so I could use it later. Surely did not. So it's just me, my selfie stick, and all my sweat for no reason other than the fact that I was like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And then I finally did it, even though nobody saw it. So that felt pretty good, despite the debacle that it kind of was. So to not make this an entirely pointless walk and talk, I pulled a card from a deck that I have. I love like Oracle decks or Affirmation decks, stuff like that. I think that we tend to receive the message that we need to hear when we need to hear it. At least that's kind of how I look at things. So I have a lot of different decks and I like to just pull a card, see what it has for me. So I pulled a card from the Positively Present deck. Let me grab it. And it says, you are safe to create a life that feels right to you. You are safe to create a life that feels right to you. So this is actually the card that I pulled on Monday, and I left it on my desk. Didn't realize I actually left it out. I thought I put it back. So when I went to grab my stuff today to do the walk, that card was still staring at me, and I still felt called to it. So I was like, you know what, we're gonna do take 2 on this one. So you are safe to create the life that feels right for you. I love this card because it says what feels right to you. And I think that when we're going through difficult times, right, like we've had a loss, or life is just kind of kicking the shit out of us, things are, not going our way. Or if you watch Shrinking, Brian's like, everything goes my way, and that is not you right now. Like, nothing is going your way, which, by the way, is kind of how I have felt the last 2 weeks. But when you're kind of in that space and it feels like nothing is going your way, we put our heads down and we just want to get through it. We're like, you know what, we're just going to get through it. We're going to get through the day. We're going to get it done, whatever it is. And we don't always check in with ourselves. I started this practice probably about 2 years ago, where I have alarms set in my phone that go off throughout the day that says check in. And it's just a check in with myself. I ask myself, how am I feeling? And if I'm able to, I close my eyes and I do like a very quick body scan. And it's pretty telling, is there tension anywhere? Am I clenching my jaw? My shoulders tight? Like, for me, when I'm stressed out, when stuff is bothering me, I tend to clench my jaw, my upper back, my shoulders get really, really stiff. And I just hold like a lot of tension in my upper body. So starting these check-ins for me throughout the day gives me a pause and lets me assess, how do I feel? And sometimes there's a correlation between how I'm feeling in the moment and what I'm actually doing at that time during the check-in. And that gives me information, right? It allows me to assess if that thing is serving me, if it's resonating with me, if it feels good in my body, if it's what I truly want to be doing. So that has been a really helpful practice for me. And I think it's important to check in with ourselves because, again, when things get hard, we just try to get through everything and we're not really being intentional with our actions. If you think about it, all of the little moments add up to your life. There's no out there destination. Like, if I just get this thing, or if I just achieve this thing, then I'll be happy. Then I won't worry so much. Then everything will be better. And sure, there are, things in our lives that can improve our situation. And it is great to work towards a goal. But if you're not intentional with the moments along the way, you're going to look up at some point and realize how much time has gone by and how little of that time you spent doing the things that you want to do with the people that you want to be with. So by doing the check-in and really seeing how things feel in your body, that gives you real-time information so you can make adjustments if whatever you're doing doesn't feel good. And I have a podcast, Living with Loss, and the episode that was released today, I talk about getting real with yourself, having real conversations with yourself. It's all about getting real with what's working and what's not. And I love to journal. For me, I say, writing has saved my life over and over again. I have been journaling since I was in 2nd grade. I actually bought my first journal on a road trip to Arizona from Boston. So kind of interesting that now I'm living in Arizona and have been for a while. But anyways, tangent. So I bought my first journal in second grade and I've been journaling ever since. And for me, the page is the place that I can show up with all of my like ugly, ungenerous, just all of kind of the muck that can be in my mind. I can show up with that, put it on the page, and I don't have to be a certain way for the page. I don't have to, worry about being too negative, or should I say this, or what are you going to think of me if you know this, right? Like the page takes all of that away. You could just be completely honest with whatever is on your mind, whatever's in your heart, and just put it down on the page. So for me, I do these check-ins through writing. And the first thing you want to do is get really honest about what's working in your life, right? Like what's good, what is working, what are you excited about? What are the things you're looking forward to? What are the things that when you're doing them, they light you up, they make you feel more like yourself, they make you feel more alive? Applies to the people you're surrounding yourself with. Who are those people for you when you're with them? Like you're more yourself. When they say, how are you? You answer them honestly, like you tell them the whole truth, even when it's not like rainbows and sunshine. Those are your people, So you want to get really honest about what's working and just look at everything and you write it down. And this, again, is information, because when you're going through really challenging times and you're not being super intentional with how you're spending your time or what you're doing, you can come back to this list at a later time and see the things that light you up. So if you're in this challenging space and you're like, I don't know how to get out of this funk, or I don't know how to give myself 10 minutes that are going to feel good, that are 10 minutes the way that I want to spend them, you can come back to this list and think like, at one point, these were the things that were working. Let's do more of that. And when you know it's working, you can make the intentional choice to amplify those things, to do more of those things. And then kind of flip side of the coin is what's not working. And I go pretty in depth into this in the podcast, because you don't want to get like so lost in this negative story, like make it a complete bitch fest. That's not the point of it. It's just to become aware of the things that are draining you of energy, things that don't feel good, things that you dread, the people you don't really want to be around. And again, that's not so you could beat yourself up because you're doing those things. That's how you're spending your time. You're writing these things down because you're giving yourself information, because when you know what's not working, you can be intentional about changing it. It can be difficult to make changes when you're caught in like the whirlwind of everyday life. When, like I said, life is kind of kicking your butt and you feel like you're really struggling and it feels like everything is bad, everything's overwhelming. It can be really tough to make intentional changes from that place. So by giving yourself like the pause, the time, the space to sit down and write down like what's working, what's not working, that's a lot of information for you to work with when you're not caught up in the emotions of the day-to-day. So to bring all of this back to the card, which I'm going to pull out again because otherwise I'm probably going to say it incorrectly, but you are safe to create a life that feels right to you. You are safe to create a life that feels right to you. So the body check-ins and the journaling about what's working and what's not working, all of that gives you information so you can create a life that feels right for you. There's no performance, there's no judgment. It's giving you all of this information so you can make like 1-degree turns towards the things that you want in your life. And again, I think when we're having a really hard time or we're in grief, we can get this kind of all or nothing mentality where if I don't change all of these things, nothing's going to be okay. Or when I change all of these things, everything will be okay. But really, in the hardest of times, if you're really intentional about making just like a tiny shift, like one small shift a day, those tiny small shifts are going to add up over time. And before you know it, you're going to realize how much better you feel in your day to day. And, in talking with people about this sometimes, if you don't put it in the context of the exercises that give you that information, you're like, well, how am I supposed to know that? How do I know what 1 degree turn I need to make? Well, pay attention to how your body's feeling when you're doing the things that you do every day, and do some journaling around what's working and what's not working, and look at all of that information. And again, when you're in really difficult times, right, like you just feel like the world is piling on you and you don't know how or when you're going to get out from underneath it. If you look at all of this information that you have and you like really get honest with yourself about how everything feels in your body, what's working, what's not working, you can then pick something from there and be like, I'm going to make this small shift. I'm going to be intentional with this one thing. So it's not like you're trying to work it out in your mind and you don't know what that thing is. We just did these exercises where you have a lot of information and then you can examine that and set your intentions from that information that you gathered about yourself. And really, when you're struggling, the big things aren't always possible. Like, it's just sometimes not feasible with the energy levels that we have, with what's left in the tank after we've had a super difficult day, to do these like grand sweeping gestures for ourselves. But I think no matter how bad the day is, we can find one teeny tiny little thing that helps us feel better. And to take the mental gymnastics out of it, if you do the body check-ins and gather that information, and then you do the journaling, what's working, what's not working, you have all of this information to choose from. So when you're having the bad day, you can go to the what's working list and try to do something from that in your day. So I don't know if that's helpful for you. I hope that it is. I think that, again, like when we're having a really tough time, for me, the things that help the most is walking or hiking. That's kind of why I wanted to do this evening walk and talk. Writing is the other thing. And I don't know if you've ever done Julia Cameron's morning pages. It's a great way to start the day if you're kind of in this place of turmoil. It's like cleaning the windows before you have to look outside kind of thing. Like when you're getting started in the day, you stream of conscious writing, 3 pages, get everything out. You'll feel lighter as you go into your day. So I do that. And then the other thing is I'll do some writing at night too. And like I said, if I get a little bit of movement in, it doesn't have to be like this crazy workout, which I love Peloton. So if you have a Peloton, have the app, anything like that, sign me on there and we will work out together. But when you're having like a complete crap day and you don't have energy, maybe that 45-minute cycling ride or that weightlifting isn't available to you, but throwing on your shoes and going for a walk around the block, even 5 minutes, that will change your mindset. It will. I promise you that, because that is what I do. I do it every day. And when I was working for an organization, one of the things that I found was like when the day wasn't going great, when I was starting to feel like kind of snippy, my communication was off, getting up and going outside and just taking like a real quick lap around the parking lot, that kind of just changed everything. And it still does. So that's why I still keep up that practice, which is why I wanted to take you on it in the evenings. So that way, maybe if you laced up and you kind of took a little walk, if you're having a tough day, it could lift that heaviness a little bit. But again, so I'll go back home and then I do like to write one more time before I go to bed. And it doesn't have to be like anything crazy long. It's just really asking yourself, like, what's on my mind. It could be good, it could be bad. But if you kind of download that onto the page before you go to bed, sorry, there's a bug on me. If you kind of download that onto the page before you go to bed, you'll be able to sleep better because it won't be weighing on you as much. So for me, that's something like a personal practice that I try to do as much as I can, even if it's only like 5 minutes, just kind of whatever is running on that hamster wheel in my mind, just get it down on the page and get it out of my head. it makes it a lot less overwhelming and occupies a lot less of my brain. So again, all of these things, right? Like these little changes, these taking that moment for yourself, coming out for a little walk and talk with me when it's 100 degrees where I am, and I'm sweating buckets again, but that's fine. So, these are the little things that will help you feel better over time. And again, when you're going through really challenging times and you feel like life is kicking the absolute shit out of you, it's not easy to get up after you had like a really tiring day and put on the shoes. But again, when you have somebody to do it with, to go for the walk, sometimes it makes it a little bit easier. I know it does for me. So with that, I am almost back home and we've been going for about 25 minutes. So again, I hope this is helpful. I haven't really decided if I'm going to do it every weeknight or like say like a Wednesday walk and talk. Not really sure yet. I guess it'll kind of depend on if people are tuning in, if it's helpful for them, if they're commenting, liking, and it's something that you want to do. Please drop a comment, let me know. And if you are going through a tough time, you can go to my website, www.adriancrowley.com. There's links in my YouTube bio, and there's a guide there that you can download that will help you get some relief from grief, some mindfulness, some breathing exercises, just some things to kind of help you get out of your head into your body a little bit, which is super helpful when you're going through tough times. So anyways, if this is something that you want to do, you feel like it would be helpful for you to have somebody on the weeknights to throw on some shoes, go for a little half-hour walk, definitely like it, comment, let me know, reach out to me anytime. And I hope we do this again, and I hope it was helpful for you. Have a great night, and we will talk soon.